Most people think their life is controlled by circumstances, by the economy, by their past, by other people, by luck. But the truth is far simpler and far more confronting. Your life today is the result of the decisions you have made repeatedly. Not the big dramatic ones alone, but the small quiet decisions you make every day, what you focus on, what you tolerate, what you avoid, and what you tell yourself is just the way it is. The moment you truly understand this, you stop feeling powerless. Because if decisions created this life, decisions can create a different one. You see, it's not what happens to you that defines you, it's what you decide it means. Two people can go through the same pain, the same failure, the same loss, and one becomes bitter while the other becomes powerful. Why? Because they made different decisions about meaning. One decided, this broke me. The other decided, this built me. That decision alone changes how you move, how you speak, how you show up in the world. Most people delay deciding. They wait for clarity, for confidence, for permission. But power does not come from waiting. It comes from deciding. The moment you decide, your nervous system shifts, your posture changes, your voice changes, your energy changes, and suddenly resources appear that were invisible before. Deciding is not just a mental act, it is a declaration to life about who you are and what you will no longer accept. Look at what you are tolerating right now. The conversations you avoid, the habits you excuse, the dreams you keep postponing. Every time you tolerate something that drains you, you are making a decision, even if you don't call it that. And those silent decisions are shaping your destiny just as powerfully as any bold choice. Change begins the instant you decide, this ends now. A real decision is not a preference. It is not, I'll try, or I hope. A real decision cuts off alternatives. It says, no matter what, this is who I am now. When you decide at that level, excuses lose their power. Fear loses its authority. The past loses its grip because you are no longer negotiating with life. You are leading it. And here's the secret most people miss. You don't need to know every step to make a powerful decision. You only need to decide the direction. Clarity comes from movement, not the other way around. Life rewards commitment, not perfection. When you decide, your brain starts searching for solutions. Your body finds energy. Your spirit wakes up. So if you want to awaken the giant within you, don't wait for the world to change. Don't wait for confidence to arrive. Decide who you are, to decide what you stand for, and decide what you will never tolerate again. Because the moment you do, your destiny begins to shift. Most people believe their emotions control their actions, but the truth is far more empowering. Your state controls everything. The way you feel in any moment determines what you notice, how you interpret reality, and what you believe is possible. And that state is not something that just happens to you. It is something you create, whether consciously or unconsciously. Once you understand this, you stop being at the mercy of your moods and start becoming the director of your life. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how differently you think when you feel strong versus when you feel defeated? The same problem exists, but the solutions appear only when your energy is high. That's because your body and mind are not separate. Your posture, your breathing, the way you move. These are not reactions to your emotions. They are instructions to your nervous system. When you collapse your body, your mind follows. When you expand your body, your mind rises to meet it. Most people try to change their lives by thinking their way out of pain. They sit, analyze, worry, and replay the same thoughts, hoping clarity will arrive. But clarity doesn't come from stillness when you're trapped in a low state. It comes from motion. Change your physiology and your psychology shifts automatically. Stand up straight. Breathe deeper, move with purpose. These are not small actions. They are switches that change how your brain processes reality. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your state. When your energy is low, even simple tasks feel overwhelming. When your energy is high, obstacles feel like games. This is why two people with the same knowledge get completely different results. One has mastered their state. The other lets it master them. And here's what most people miss. You don't wait for motivation to change your state. Motivation comes after movement, not before it. You don't say, when I feel confident, I'll act. You act and confidence follows. The body leads, the mind obeys. This is how momentum is created. Your rituals, the way you start your morning, the way you respond to stress, the way you recover after failure, these are what shape your state day after day. If your rituals are weak, your life feels unstable. If your rituals are strong, your life becomes resilient. You don't need perfect days, you need powerful patterns. When you learn to shift your state on command, fear stops controlling you. Anxiety loses its grip. Pressure turns into fuel. You realize that emotions are not enemies, they are signals. And once you can change your state, you can change the meaning of those signals. What once felt like panic becomes intensity. What once felt like overwhelm becomes focus. This is the moment you stop reacting to life and start commanding it. Because when you change your state, you change your life. Most of what limits your life right now isn't real. It feels real, it sounds convincing, and it has been repeated so many times in your mind that it seems unquestionable. But it's still a story. A belief is nothing more than a decision you've practiced until it became automatic. And once you see that, you realize something extraordinary. Anything you learn to believe, you can unlearn, reshape, or replace. People don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they accept invisible rules about who they are and what they can do. I'm not confident. I'm bad with money. People like me don't succeed. These are not facts. They are conclusions drawn from moments in the past, frozen in time, and carried into the present as if they were permanent truths. The mind clings to familiarity, even when familiarity hurts. Every belief acts like a filter. It decides what you notice, what you ignore, and how you interpret everything that happens to you. When you believe something is impossible, your brain stops looking for ways to make it happen. When you believe something is available to you, your mind starts searching for evidence everywhere. The world hasn't changed, your filter has. The danger of limiting beliefs is not just that they stop you from trying, it's that they convince you it's reasonable to stop. They make surrender feel logical. They disguise fear as realism. And once fear puts on the mask of reason, most people never challenge it. But here's the truth. Beliefs only have power because you keep reinforcing them. Every time you act in alignment with a limiting belief, you strengthen it. Every time you hesitate because of it, you vote for it. And every time you question it, truly question it, you weaken its hold. Transformation begins when you interrupt the old pattern and ask better questions. Instead of asking, why does this always happen to me? Ask, what would this mean if it were happening for me? Instead of saying, I can't, ask, how would I do this if I had to? The brain is a problem-solving machine. It just needs a new command. You don't replace a belief by wishing it away. You replace it by creating emotional certainty. That means linking pain to the old belief and pleasure to the new one. Feel the cost of staying the same. Feel the weight of another year lived beneath your potential. Then feel the energy of stepping into a stronger identity, one decision at a time. The moment you adopt a belief that demands more of you, your behavior rises to meet it. Your standards change, your language changes, your actions follow. And suddenly, the limits that once felt permanent begin to dissolve, not because the world changed, but because you did. The giant within you was never asleep. It was just buried under beliefs that were never true to begin with. Everyone wants change, but very few people want the actions that create it. They read, they listen, they feel inspired, and then they wait, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. But life doesn't reward intention, it rewards movement. Progress is not the result of knowing more, it is the result of doing more consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. Massive action doesn't mean reckless action. It means committed action. It means deciding that no matter what your mood is, no matter what yesterday looked like, you will take the next step today. Most people let emotions dictate their behavior. When they feel confident, they act. When they feel uncertain, they stop. But the truth is, action is what creates confidence, not the other way around. Think about momentum. When something is still, it takes energy to move it. But once it's moving, it wants to keep going. The same is true for your life. One small action creates energy. That energy fuels the next action. And suddenly, what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. The problem is that most people quit before momentum ever has a chance to build. Consistency is where power lies. Not in intensity that burns out, but in daily discipline that compounds. You don't change your life by doing something extraordinary once. You change it by doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Over and over again, small actions done consistently create massive results over time. This is how progress becomes permanent. There will be days when you feel inspired, and there will be days when you don't. Waiting for motivation is a trap. Motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident. When you commit to action regardless of how you feel, you build self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of personal power. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your identity strengthens. Fear will show up. Doubt will speak loudly. Old patterns will try to pull you back, but fear does not mean stop. It means stretch. Growth always feels uncomfortable because it demands a new version of you. If you only act when it's easy, you stay the same. If you act when it's hard, you evolve. Action is also how clarity is created. Most people want certainty before they move. But certainty comes after movement, not before it. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first. Life responds to motion. When you move, doors appear. When you hesitate, they stay hidden. This is how the giant within you awakens, not through thinking, wishing, or waiting, but through relentless, aligned action taken again and again, until success is no longer something you chase, but something you live. Every action you take or avoid comes down to one simple force: what you associate pain and pleasure with. Human beings will do almost anything to avoid pain and will work tirelessly to experience pleasure. This is not a weakness, it is how we are wired. The problem is that most people link pain and pleasure in ways that keep them trapped. They associate pain with change and pleasure, with staying the same, and then they wonder why their life never moves forward. Think about it. Why does someone stay in a situation that drains them? Why repeat habits that sabotage growth? Because on some level, staying familiar feels safer than stepping into the unknown. The pain of change feels immediate, while the pain of staying the same feels distant. So the mind chooses comfort today over fulfillment tomorrow, and that single pattern quietly shapes an entire life. If you want to change behavior, you must change what you link pain and pleasure to. As long as growth feels painful and comfort feels rewarding, you will resist your own evolution. But when you begin to associate pain with staying where you are, another year of excuses, another year of regret, and pleasure with growth, discipline, and progress, everything shifts. Suddenly, discomfort becomes a doorway instead of a warning sign. Pain itself is not the enemy. Pain is a teacher. It shows you where alignment is missing. It tells you something needs to change. The moment you stop running from pain and start using it as feedback, it transforms from suffering into power. The strongest people are not those who feel less pain. They are those who have learned how to use it. Pleasure works the same way. If your pleasure comes from short-term relief, distraction, numbing, avoidance, then long-term success will always feel out of reach. But when pleasure comes from keeping promises to yourself, from growth, from effort, from progress, your identity changes. You begin to crave what once felt uncomfortable because it now represents who you are becoming. This is not about punishment or deprivation. It's about conditioning your nervous system to value what truly serves you. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you reinforce a new pattern. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you strengthen a new identity, and identity once formed runs on autopilot. When you redefine pain and pleasure, willpower becomes less necessary. You don't have to force yourself to act. You are pulled forward by what you value. Fear no longer controls you because fear is no longer something to avoid. It becomes proof that you are expanding beyond your old limits. This is the moment you stop negotiating with discomfort and start using it as fuel, because when pain points you forward and pleasure rewards your growth, your life can no longer stay the same. Everything you have done up to this point has been driven by the image you hold of who you are, not who you wish you were, not who you pretend to be when others are watching, but the identity you silently live from every day. Your actions will never rise consistently above that identity. This is why goals alone don't change lives. You can set new goals, but if you don't upgrade who you believe you are, you will always return to familiar patterns. Most people try to create change from the outside in. They chase results, achievements, approval. But lasting transformation happens from the inside out. The moment you decide, this is who I am now, behavior follows naturally. When identity shifts, effort decreases. You don't force yourself to act. You act because it aligns with who you are becoming. Vision is what gives identity direction. Without a compelling vision, the mind drifts back to survival mode, reacting instead of creating. When you don't know where you're going, any excuse feels valid. But when you can see your future clearly, when it feels real, personal, and emotionally alive, your present actions gain meaning. Sacrifice no longer feels like loss, it feels like investment. A powerful vision is not just about success or status. It's about who you are serving, what you stand for, and the energy you bring into every room. It's about the standard you hold when no one is watching. When your vision is rooted in purpose, discipline stops feeling heavy and starts feeling natural. Identity is shaped by standards. What you tolerate, you train yourself to accept. What you demand of yourself becomes your baseline. Raise your standards and your life rises to meet them. This is not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about deciding that certain behaviors no longer fit who you are. Your past does not define your identity. Your decisions do. You are not the mistakes you made or the roles you were given. You are the meaning you assign and the standards you live by. The moment you stop introducing yourself by your limitations and start introducing yourself by your values, something shifts. You stop trying to prove yourself and start expressing yourself. A compelling identity pulls you forward. It gives you strength when motivation fades and clarity when emotions fluctuate. It becomes an internal compass that guides your choices without constant effort. And when challenges arise, as they always will, you don't ask, can I handle this? You ask, what would someone like me do now? This is how the giant within you fully awakens, not by chasing success, but by becoming the person success naturally flows through.